Welcome back to the Garden Show. Before we start collecting our cuttings, I'm going to show you some of the things that you would need in order for you to do so. One is your shears. Again, you should always have your shears, your hand shears along with you. The other is a scissors. It's always a good habit for you to keep a scissors when collecting, especially stem cuttings. And the other is a bucket of water or a gallon of water, just cut in half. Water of some sort you have to have along with you when you are collecting cuttings, especially if the distance to where you're going to pot them up is a little bit, or you are moving from one location to the other. You need some type of water along with you. One of the things you have to look at the plant before you collect cuttings. Many a times you see plant in flowers, and that's when people feel like, you know, that's a beautiful flower, I want to have it, so they would go and pinch a piece or cut a piece from the plant and go directly and plant it. We do not really recommend for you to do that. Usually it's after it finished flowering. For example, here we have the Rosefolia, beautiful lavender flower, but right now I don't want, even though I want to propagate the plant, right now it's not ideal for you to take cuttings from the plant. One, because you take away the amount of flowers it has, and two, the plant is in the flowering mode. It's in it's flowering. It doesn't really is in the growing mode. So you need to wait until the growing mode in order for you to get cuttings from it. All right. Some plants you get cuttings and it doesn't matter; it will still grow. But most of them, it does affect the result, whether it's flowering or not flowering. All right. So at the moment, we don't want to touch any plant that is actually flowering. All right. Like I said, there are some type of plants that will be easier, even if it's flowering or not flowering, and you can take cuttings, they will still grow. So, but there are most of them, especially the hardwoods, are pretty difficult for you to get cuttings when they are flowering. Other thing is plants with sap. Here we have an allamanda, and this plant usually has white sap. This means that the plant stores water inside itself. So what you want is to avoid sticking it in water immediately after cutting. So whenever you see the sap pouring out like this, you don't want to immediately just throw it in the water and take it along with you. What will happen is that microbes or bacteria will get into the plant and it will rot your cutting. So what you want to do is you want to wait, you want to cut it and then wait until the sap is dried out. That usually takes about 5 hours for it to dry and it makes a complete barrier between the inner part of the plant and the water. So when it forms that barrier, that's when you stick it in water, or you can go ahead and plant it. But if you do it before, most of the times it's not successful, and people who have planted frangipani or allamanda would have that same experience. All right, so watch out for these things whenever you are preparing your cuttings. Now some plants grow very well from the tip. Using the tip cutting means a stem that is not mature is still green, very tender. Some plants do better from the hardwood. Now that comes with experience. You have to, you know, try the plant different ways. If it doesn't, if you follow the rules and the stem cutting, the hard stem cutting is not successful, then you want to try the tip cutting. All right, so don't give up. Try it a different way. There are some plants that like tips. There are some plants that like the mature wood. So you want to do both and see what's the result. You take note and then you continue from there. Here we want to be getting some cuttings from a salvia. Now I'll be showing you how you get these cuttings off, because when you get cuttings from a plant, you're basically doing a type of pruning. You are pruning the mother plant, so you should be worried, or you should take care of the mother plant first and then prepare the cutting afterwards. All right, so here I'm going to remove some of the cuttings that I want, that I'm going to take to the nursery and propagate. But first I got to look at how I make the cuts on the mother plant. Usually if you see leaves that are opposite, you want to take your scissors right above the two leaves and cut it straight. Alright, so the cutting that remains, the cut that remains on the mother plant should be right above the two leaves, right above the bud, and it should be straight because of the opposite leaves it has. Usually take about 8 to 10 inches pieces of stem and you stick it in water immediately after you cut it, because this plant does not have sap. So you want to stick it right in water immediately after you cut them, and you take as much as is needed. Remember that you are doing, when you're doing this, is actually pruning. You're actually pruning the mother plant, so you want to make sure that the cuts that you're doing are straight. Make sure that the scissors you are using is clean, and make sure you cut the plant so that the balance, it keeps balance, it keeps the plant looking healthy and nice. You don't want to cut only on one side and leave the other one bushy, because what will happen is that the plant is going to collapse, it's going to fall over, or it just starts growing on one side. All right, so this plant is showing a little bit of flowers at the ending of the season of the flowers, but the growth is already coming up, so it's a good stage to collect cuttings from it. All right, farther down I'm going to show you how to do leaf cuttings, which is a little bit more fun, a little bit more for me it's a little bit easier to do. All right, I think this will be enough for our stem cuttings. What we're going to do now is basically go back to the nursery and get these prepared. We're not going to prepare them on the field. We're going to take them as quick as possible back to the nursery and then prepare them there and get them in bags.